It began as a faint smudge on the edge of our solar system, a ghost in the machine of a telescope in Hawaii. But what if that ghost is real, and it's carrying a message for humanity written in the language of orbital mechanics and aimed directly at our neighbor in the cosmos? The numbers have just changed, and with them, the entire story of the interstellar object known as 3I Atlas has been torn up and rewritten. For months, astronomers assumed this visitor from the void between stars would only perform a harmless, spectacular flyby past the red planet. But new data suggests a far more terrifying and deliberate destiny. This is not a story about a rock. This is the story of a bullet, and it may have Mars in its crosshairs. The initial discovery, on July 1st, was met with the usual cautious excitement. Astronomers had spotted a new object, likely a comet, on a trajectory that screamed its origin was from outside our solar system. They named it 3I Atlas, the third known interstellar interloper after Oumuamua and Borisov. The early calculations painted a picture of a spectacular but ultimately harmless flyby, a cosmic tourist, here for a quick glimpse before vanishing back into the infinite dark. But then, the numbers started to shift, not by much, not at first. The changes were subtle, the kind of discrepancies that most would dismiss as minor observational errors. But for a small team at Harvard, led by the controversial and brilliant astrophysicist Avi Loeb, and for a handful of independent analysts deep inside NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, these tiny deviations were screaming a warning. Their new calculations, run and rerun until the results were undeniable, revealed something extraordinary. This is not a simple rock tumbling through space. In that case, maybe it's not just passing through. Maybe it's targeting the inner solar system. We know that 3I Atlas's trajectory is unnervingly well aligned with the orbital plane of the planets. This in itself is rare, but not impossible. What is impossible for a passive object is what happened next. The trajectory is actively tightening. The speed is changing. And now, for the first time, the latest data shows it could actually be on a collision course with Mars. 3I Atlas is moving faster than anything humanity has ever tracked, inbound from interstellar space nearly 87 kilometers per second relative to the Sunday. To put that into terrifying perspective, it's covering the vast distance between the Earth and the Moon in less than 80 minutes, every single hour. As it screams inward, gravitational tugs from the Sun, Jupiter, and Mars itself tweak its path by micrometers per second. These are infinitesimal changes, the faintest of whispers from the giants of our system. But across tens of millions of kilometers, those whispers become shouts. Tiny adjustments become enormous deviations. And the data from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter confirmed the worst fears on its last pass. The object's coma, that hazy halo of gas and dust that defines a comet, has doubled in brightness since August. But it's not the brightness that's the problem. It's the signature. The readings show strange, high-energy spikes in the ultraviolet spectrum. That's not typical cometary physics. The rate of CO2 outgassing is far, far beyond anything ever witnessed in a comet from our own solar system. Instead of stabilizing as it nears the sun's heat, 3I Atlas is behaving less like a celestial body and more like a guided missile. It appears to be self-adjusting, accelerating and course-correcting by releasing plumes of gas in deliberate, timed pulses. The new trajectory analysis puts its closest approach to Mars on the 26th of September 2025, at a distance of just 1.95 million kilometers. To a planetary astronomer, that's a hair's breadth. At that distance, Mars's own gravity can exert a measurable and potentially fatal influence on the comet's path. This isn't just a flyby, it's a gravitational handshake that could turn into a death grip. And here's the terrifying twist that keeps mission planners awake at night. A mere 10 kilometers per second of additional velocity, a tiny nudge in the grand scheme of cosmic speeds, could tip its orbit enough to transition from a near miss to a direct hit just weeks later. Think about that for a moment. 3I Atlas only needs a fraction of the momentum that SpaceX's Starship uses to launch from Earth to change its destiny from flyby to collision. And the most chilling part? Those momentum changes are happening right now, hidden in the turbulent activity of its tail. Spectroscopy data from the powerful Gemini South telescope in Chile has revealed something that no one on Earth can yet explain. Instead of the steady, random venting of sublimated ices that every other comet exhibits, 3I Atlas's tail emits gas in clock-like pulses, once every 17 minutes. Perfectly. Synchronized over days and weeks, these pulses are producing microaccelerations in the exact direction needed to align its path perfectly with Mars's orbital plane. Let that sink in. No known natural process in comet science produces a rhythm this precise, this mechanical. In normal comets, jets erupt chaotically when sunlight hits fresh ice patches. They don't repeat like a metronome set by an unseen hand. Here, the pulses look engineered. They resemble the attitude thrusters on a spacecraft, firing with inhuman regularity. If this pattern holds, projections show that by the 19th of September 2025, the comet will have imparted enough lateral thrust to close the remaining miss distance to under 50,000 kilometers closer than some of Mars's own moons. At that point, One final major outburst could be all it takes to push it into an irreversible collision trajectory. The scale of destruction is almost beyond human comprehension. At its current estimated mass of 10 billion tons, a heavily irradiated ball of ice and dust potentially surrounding a metallic core, 400 meters across a direct hit on Mars, would release energy equivalent to 2 million megatons of TNT. That is thousands of times greater than the largest nuclear device ever detonated on Earth. The resulting crater would be a scar 60 kilometers wide and 5 kilometers deep, gouged into the Martian surface. The impact would throw debris high into Mars' orbit and potentially eject some fragments onto paths that would eventually reach the inner solar system. This isn't just a geological event. It is an existential threat to our presence on Mars. The planet hosts dozens of active and planned spacecraft: the veteran Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, the Perseverance and Curiosity rovers, the Ingenuity helicopter, and satellites from Europe, China, and India. An impact would not just scar the planet, it would shatter decades of scientific investment and ambition. Communications, relays, climate monitoring stations, and the most sophisticated search for life missions ever conceived could be crippled overnight, bathed in a storm of high-velocity debris and electromagnetic pulses. Inside NASA, quiet but frantic preparations are already underway. Leaked internal memos show that mission planners have already repurposed the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, using its high-resolution cameras as a forward radar to image and track 3I Atlas's inbound vector. Back on Earth, the powerful high-gain antennas at the Goldstone Deep Space Communications Complex have been tasked with a new clandestine mission to bounce radar signals off the comet's core. The official results are highly classified, but one insider, speaking on condition of anonymity, described them as unlike any echo we've ever recorded. Instead of the soft, diffuse signatures expected from an icy body, the returns were sharp and bright, consistent with hard, metallic surfaces. If these leaks are accurate, 3I Atlas may not be just ice and dust at all. Its core might contain alloys impossible to form naturally in deep space, hinting at an artificial interior surrounded by a sacrificial shell of ice. This is the territory of Professor Avi Loeb and his protege, Amir Siraj. Loeb has long argued for taking technological explanations seriously, most famously with Oumuamua. His new paper, currently under peer review but already circulating like wildfire online, lays out a scenario that would have been dismissed as science fiction only a year ago. He posits that 3I Atlasis, a directed messenger, launched by an advanced civilization, instead of simply passing through our system, it would perform a precision grazing maneuver with Mars, either to deposit microscopic probes or to crash deliberately, releasing detectable materials from underground caches upon impact. They calculate that with each 17-minute pulse of gas, the object is not losing mass randomly, but steering itself. It is, in effect, sailing on its own sublimated exhaust. This would allow it to adjust its trajectory with stunning precision as it enters our planetary neighborhood, the way a spacecraft uses reaction control thrusters. The implications are staggering. We are not looking at a rock, but a vehicle. As if to confirm these worst fears, a separate chilling report has emerged from the European Space Agency's Mars Express orbiter. It has photographed 3 small, glinting objects in a high orbit over Mars, arranged in a perfect triangular formation. Initially dismissed as cosmic rays or sensor noise, they have appeared in the exact same positions on 3 consecutive orbits. Could these be scout probes, ejected by 3I Atlas during a previous unseen pass through the outer solar system? Loeb is urgently pressing NASA to cross-reference these glints with archival data from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter to see if any matching metallic fragments have already been found on the surface. If such a connection is made, it would be the first hard evidence of interstellar technology ever recorded, far more significant than any Martian meteorite studied on Earth. The timeline now looks chillingly precise. The 26th of September 2025 is the date 3I Atlas crosses Mars's orbital path. The critical window for final course corrections is from September 19 to 30. During this period, the comet's speed relative to Mars will be a staggering 57 kilometers per second. At that velocity, even a glancing strike would vaporize cubic kilometers of rock and eject a dust cloud that would shroud the planet for years. Critics, of course, remain. They argue that no natural comet can change its path by the required 10 kilometers per second using sublimation alone. The energy required would be more than 10 billion joules, focused and directed in a way that defies all known physics. Yet, that is exactly what the trajectory data implies. This energy gap is Loeb's strongest argument. If such a maneuver is occurring, he contends, something within 3I Atlas is providing power on a scale unknown to planetary science, possibly fusion, or even antimatter reactors buried beneath the ice and venting superheated gas as thrust. Meanwhile, a global army of amateur astronomers has been mobilized, their telescopes pointed skyward, collecting every photon of data they can. Some of their images, when enhanced, show the comet's tail splitting into 3 distinct, needle-like streams that glow with an eerie, green, aurora-like radiance. These green beams pulse at the same 17-minute rhythm as the gas outbursts. At high exposure, they seem to converge, pointing like a triple-barreled cannon towards Mars, as if painting a path through the void. The implications of an impact extend beyond Mars. A massive collision could fling debris onto trajectories that intersect with Earth's orbit within a decade. If any of those fragments carried engineered microbes, or even more frighteningly, self-replicating nanotechnology, they could potentially infect not just Mars, but eventually the entire inner solar system. It's a scenario of panspermia, but one guided by intelligence, not chance. The world's space agencies, the European Space Agency, Russia's Roscosmos, China's CNSA, and Japan's JAXA, have all quietly convened emergency task forces. No public statements explain why, but insiders speak in hushed tones about activating planetary defense protocols. For the first time in history, scientists are seriously and secretly debating whether humanity should attempt to intercept or even destroy an interstellar object before it reaches another planet. The ultimate question remains, hanging in the silence of space: who or what is controlling 3I Atlas? Is it a derelict craft from a civilization millions of years extinct, its systems running on autopilot for eons? Or is it a deliberate, active probe, testing our response, studying our technology, and probing our defenses? We don't know. But the data no longer fits the comfortable narrative of a passive comet. Something about this object behaves. It acts. It corrects. It navigates. By mid-September 2025, every major observatory, from the Hubble Space Telescope to the James Webb, will be locked onto 3I Atlas. They will watch, breathlessly, for the final pulses. If it crosses that last slender sliver of orbital space, the red planet may witness an impact unlike anything since the late heavy bombardment 4 billion years ago. For scientists, it is the chance of 1,000 lifetimes. For everyone else, it is a cosmic nightmare unfolding in slow motion before our eyes. And as that nightmare draws closer, the silence from official channels grows louder and more profound. NASA issues calm, technical updates. The ESA posts routine, beautiful images. They know the truth. They cannot yet speak. If 3I Atlas collides with Mars, the implications will instantly rewrite our place in the universe. The childhood question, are we alone, will have been answered, not with a signal, but with a cataclysm. So, as you watch the steady red glow of Mars rise in the sky this September, remember this: above that rusty, silent world, an interstellar object is threading the eye of a cosmic needle. It is pulsing its strange green exhaust with the regularity of a heartbeat, adjusting its path meter by meter, second by second. Maybe it's random. Maybe it's a 1 in a trillion natural phenomenon. But if it isn't, if some hidden engine deep inside that icy core is steering toward a deliberate crash, then the first undeniable evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence will not come as a radio signal from the depths of space. It will come as a silent, glowing green comet, slamming into our neighboring planet at 57 kilometers per second, rewriting the night sky in a flash of fire, and showing us, in the most violent way imaginable, that we are not the masters of this cosmic neighborhood. We are about to find out which it is, and we will know very soon. What we've just explored sits at the razor's edge between known science and unimaginable possibility. The story of 3I Atlas forces us to confront fundamental questions about our universe. Is life a fragile, rare accident, or is the cosmos teeming with intelligence, some of which might be sending envoys our way? The evidence, as presented, is circumstantial but profoundly unsettling. The precise pulses, the metallic radar returns, the inexplicable course corrections, they form a pattern that challenges everything we think we know. Professor Loeb's hypothesis, while controversial, is a necessary provocation. It forces science to look beyond comfortable explanations and confront the data, no matter how strange it may seem. This story is far from over. The next few months will be critical. As telescopes around the world and in space track 3I Atlas's final approach, we will be watching history unfold. Whether it reveals a new chapter in planetary science or the first chapter in a new understanding of our place in the cosmos remains to be seen. What do you think is really happening with 3I Atlas? Is it a natural phenomenon of a type we've simply never encountered before? Or is the evidence pointing towards something more? Something that suggests an intelligence beyond our own? The universe is under no obligation to conform to our expectations. It is stranger, and perhaps far more dangerous, than we have ever dared to imagine. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe we are witnessing a natural event, or is this evidence of a guided object? What should humanity's response be? And don't forget to subscribe, because this story is evolving by the day. We will be here, bringing you every new development, every piece of data, as we journey together toward the answer. The countdown to September has begun.